Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the honor of presenting a report on one of the most influential figures in Philippine history, Andres Bonifacio and the 1896 Revolution, the transformation of Katipunan on August 24, 1896 into a democratic national government signaled the start of revolution by Milagros Guerrero, Emmanuel Encarnacion, and Ramon Villegas. As we delved into this topic, we will explore how Bonifacio's leadership, vision, and unwavering commitment to his cause inspired a generation of Filipinos to rise up against Spanish colonial rule and fight for their freedom and independence. We will examine the challenges and obstacles that Bonifacio and his contemporaries faced as they worked to unite disparate groups and forge a new nation out of the ashes of the old. Moreover, we will delve into the complex historical context that informed Bonifacio's actions and decisions and the legacy that he helped behind for future generations of Filipino people. As we embark on this journey through history, I invite you to join me in reflecting on the importance of the struggle for our national identity and aspirations. Andres Bonifacio, the founder and leader of the Katipunan, recognized the need to establish a democratic national government to lead the revolution against Spanish colonial rule. To this end, he convened a National Assembly of the organization on August 24, 1896. The assembly, also known as the Kalayaan Council or Freedom Council, was held in the barn of Melchor Aquino, a revolutionary icon also known as Tandang Sora in Barrio Banlat, which is now part of Quezon City. The purpose of the assembly was to unite the different factions of the Katipunan and establish a unified leadership structure. It was attended by most prominent members of the organization, including Emilio Jacinto, Ladislao Diwa, and others, who all shared Bonifacio's vision for a free and independent Philippines. During the assembly, they discussed various issues related to the revolution, including the military strategy, organizational structure, and political ideology. They also drafted a constitution for the newly established democratic government, which aimed to ensure representation and participation of all Filipinos, regardless of social status or regional affiliation. Through the National Assembly, Bonifacio and his fellow revolutionaries laid the groundwork for a democratic national government that would govern the country after the Spanish colonial rule was overthrown. The assembly was a significant milestone in Philippine history and an important example of power of democratic ideals in the face of oppression and colonialism. The National Assembly, convened by Andres Bonifacio, had three main purposes. It is to discuss the current state of the Katipunan organization, to establish strategies and techniques to be used in the revolution against Spanish colonial rule, and to establish a provisional government that would govern the country after the successful overthrow of the Spanish colonial government. The Ilustrados propagandist movement, which sought to persuade the Madrid government to effect urgent reforms in a distant Asian colony, unfortunately failed in their mission. Despite their efforts, the Spanish colonial government remained largely indifferent to their calls for change. The propaganda movement, also known as La Liga Filipina, was founded by Jose Rizal on July 3, 1892. Prominent ilustrados such as Lopez Haina and Marcelo H. del Pilar were also involved in the movement. However, their efforts proved to be ineffective in bringing about the desired change. In response to the lack of progress made by the propaganda movement, Jose Rizal went home and established the La Liga Filipina or Philippine League in Doroteo on Junco's house on Elias Street, Tondo. The league aimed to unite Filipinos from all social classes and regions to work towards the common goal of independence. Jose Rizal, a prominent figure in the Philippine nationalist movement, was detained by Governor General Eulogio Despojol and sent to exile in Dapitan, Mindanao, where he lived for 4 years. Meanwhile, the suppression of La Liga Filipina led to the creation of a secret society whose members include Andres Bonifacio, Valentin Diaz, Deodato Arellano, Jose Dizon, Ladislao Diwa, and Teodora Plata. This society was the precursor to the Katipunan, a revolutionary movement that aimed to overthrow Spanish colonial rule and establish a democratic government in the Philippines. The members of the secret society were instrumental in the formation of the Katipunan, which would eventually lead the Philippine Revolution against Spanish rule. Their efforts were crucial in bringing out the country's independence and paving the way for the establishment of a new government that would serve the interest of the Filipino people. The secret society that emerged after the suppression of La Liga Filipina was called the Kataas-Taasang Kagalang-Galangan na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, whose purpose was to unite the country and achieve independence from the Spain through revolution. This organization was led by Andres Bonifacio, who was appointed as the chief of propaganda by the Supreme Council of the Liga because of his exceptional personality and communication skills. To spread their ideas and teachings effectively, Emilio Jacinto, Bonifacio's trusted friend and advisor, wrote the Cartilla or Primer, which embodied the teachings of the organization. The Cartilla became an essential tool in educating the members of the organization, and it served as a guide for the Katipunan's revolution against Spanish colonial rule. Through their determination and unity, the members of the Kataas-Taasang Kagalang-Galangan na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan were able to create a revolutionary movement that challenged Spanish colonial rule and paved the way for the Philippines' eventual independence. The members of the Kataas-Taasang Kagalang-Galangan na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan were determined to spread their message and educate their fellow Filipinos about the need for independence from Spanish colonial rule. To do this, they created a secret printing press and published a newspaper called Kalayaan, which means freedom. The membership of the society grew rapidly in the eve of the revolution from 30,000 to 400,000 members. However, the Spanish Secreta or secret police had become aware of the existence of this dangerous clandestine organization. Despite the risk, the rebels continued to carry out their plans and activities, including cutting the railroad in Caloocan in April 1896. By May of that same year, the Philippine Revolution had begun. This marked the start of a long and difficult struggle for independence, but the members of the Katipunan remained steadfast in their determination to achieve their goal. Their courage and sacrifice continue to inspire Filipinos.
So, what is a de facto government? It is a government that is an actual control of a country or territory, even though it may not have legal recognition as the official government. This can occur in situations such as Coditat, where a group of individuals takes control of the government by force, or in cases of disputed elections where multiple parties claim to be the legitimate government. De facto governments may operate outside of the legal framework of the country or territory they control, and their legitimacy may be questioned by some or all of the international community. However, they may still exercise real political power, control over resources and infrastructure, and the ability to enforce laws and regulations. De facto governments can exist for varying lengths of time, and they may ultimately either gain legal recognition or be replaced by a different government. Examples of de facto governments include military juntas, revolutionary movements, and separatist groups. Santiago Alvarez was a prominent Filipino filmmaker, producer, and a director known for his contributions to the Philippine cinema industry. He was born on August 9, 1936 in Santa Cruz, Manila, Philippines, and passed away on May 20, 2021. Alvarez was a prolific filmmaker who directed more than 50 films, many of which were critically acclaimed for their political and social commentary. He was known for his focus on issues related to the Philippine history, politics, and society, and his films often explored themes such as the struggles of the Filipino people for democracy, freedom, and justice. One of his most famous films was Hermano Poli, a historical drama based on the life of Apolinario de la Cruz, a Filipino revolutionary who fought against Spanish colonialism in the 19th century. The film won several awards, including Best Picture at the 2016 Metro Manila Film Festival. Alvarez was also recognized for his contributions to Philippine cinema and was awarded the National Artist Award on Film in 2017. He remained active in the film industry until his passing and continued to inspire and influence new generations of filmmakers in the Philippines. La Ilustración Española y Americana, also known as La Ilustración Española, was a Spanish weekly magazine that was published from 1869 to 1921. It was one of the most important and influential magazines of its time in Spain, and it played a significant role in the dissemination of knowledge and ideas during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. La Ilustración Española was founded by Francisco de Paula Mellado, a prominent Spanish journalist, publisher, and a politician. The magazine aimed to promote culture, education, and progress in Spain by publishing articles, essays, and illustrations on a wide range of topics, including literature, science, technology, art, politics, and social issues. The magazine's content was aimed at broad audience, and it featured contributions from some of the most prominent writers, artists, and intellectuals of its time. It also published a significant number of illustrations, which were produced by some of the most talented illustrators of the era, including Daniel Vergi, Francisco Ortego, and Ricardo Balaca. La Ilustración Española played a key role in the dissemination of new ideas and cultural movements in Spain, and it had a significant impact on the country's intellectual and artistic life. Its influence extended beyond Spain, as it was read by many people in Latin America, the Philippines, and other parts of the Spanish-speaking world. Today, La Ilustración Española is considered a valuable historical resource, providing a glimpse into the cultural, social, and political life of Spain and its empire during a critical period of its history. The Republika ng Katagalugan. The Republika ng Katagalugan, also known as the Tagalog Republic, was a short-lived revolutionary government that was established in the Philippines on August 24, 1896 during the Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule. The term Katagalugan refers to the Tagalog-speaking regions of the Philippines, and the Republic was proclaimed by a revolutionary leader named Andres Bonifacio in response to the failure of negotiations with the Spanish colonial authorities. The Republic was short-lived, however, as it was soon replaced by a larger and more inclusive revolutionary government led by Emilio Aguinaldo. The Katagalugan government's main achievement was its role in mobilizing the people of the Tagalog-speaking regions of the Philippines to rise up against Spanish colonial rule and fight for Philippine independence. Today, the Republika ng Katagalugan is considered an important part of the Philippine history, as it represents the early stages of the country's struggle for independence and its people's desire to establish a government that would represent their interests and aspirations. Gregorio F. Zaide of 1907 to 1986 was a Filipino historian, educator, and author who is known for his numerous books on Philippine history. He is considered as one of the most prominent historians of his time, and his works have been widely read and studied by generations of Filipinos. Zaide was born on May 25, 1907 in Pagsanjan, Laguna, Philippines. He earned a bachelor's degree in liberal arts from the University of the Philippines in 1927 and a master's degree in history from Stanford University in 1932. He later completed his doctoral studies in history at Columbia University in 1953. Zaide's career as a historian began in the 1930s when he started teaching history at the University of the Philippines. He went on to serve as a professor and administrator at several other universities, including the University of Santo Tomas and the Philippine Women's University. In addition to his academic work, Zaide also active in cultural and literary scene, serving as an editor and writing for various publications. Zaide is best known for his books on Philippine history, which include Philippine History and Government, The Philippine Revolution, and Jose Rizal life works and writings. His books were widely used as textbooks in Philippine schools, and they helped shape the way generations of Filipinos view their country's past. Despite his contributions to Philippine historiography, Saide's work have also been criticized for their lack of critical analysis and their tendency to present a nationalistic and often romanticized view of Philippine history. Nonetheless, his books remain popular and widely read, and they continue to influence the study and teaching of Philippine history today. Teodoro Agoncillo of 1912 to 1985 was a Filipino historian and writer known for his works on Philippine history, particularly in the Philippine Revolution and the Philippine-American War. In relation to the Andres Bonifacio-led 1896 revolution, Agoncillo is known for his controversial interpretation of the events leading to Bonifacio's death. According to Agoncillo, Bonifacio's execution was not only the result of a power struggle between him and Emilio Aguinaldo, but also due to the Bonifacio brothers' lack of education and their perceived rustic ways by the more educated members of the Katipunan. Agoncillo's interpretation sparked debates and discussions among Philippine historians, with some agreeing and others disagreeing with his views. Apart from his role in interpreting the events of the Philippine Revolution, Agoncillo was also a prominent figure in the promotion of Philippine history and nationalism. He authored several books in Philippine history, including Revolt of the Masses, The Story of Bonifacio and the Katipunan, and The Fateful Years of Japan's Adventure in the Philippines of 1941 to 1945. He also served as a professor and chairman of the history department at the University of the Philippines. Teodoro Agoncillo was a notable Filipino historian and writer who made significant contributions to the study and promotion of Philippine history and nationalism. Some of his accomplishments are the authorship of History of the Filipino People, the promotion of Filipino nationalism, recognition as a national artist, academic career, and awards and honors. Overall, Teodoro Agoncillo's contributions to Philippine history and nationalism had a lasting impact on the country's cultural and intellectual landscape. His works continue to be studied and celebrated by scholars and readers alike. First President Emilio Aguinaldo of 1869 to 1964 was a Filipino revolutionary leader who served as the first president of the Philippines after the country gained independence from Spain. He was one of the key figures in Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule and later led the fight against American colonization. Aguinaldo initially supported Andres Bonifacio's leadership during the early stages of the revolution, but he later emerged as a rival leader with a larger following and more military experience. He played a crucial role in leading the revolutionary forces against Spanish troops and establishing a provisional government in 1898. After the Spanish-American War, Aguinaldo declared the Philippine independence from Spain on June 12, 1898. However, his leadership was soon challenged by American forces who invaded the Philippines and established their own colonial government. Aguinaldo continued to lead resistance efforts against American rule for several years, but he was eventually captured and forced to swear allegiance to the United States in 1901. He later became involved in Philippine politics and served as the country's president from 1899 to 1901 and again from 1917 to 1935. Despite his controversial legacy, Aguinaldo remains a prominent figure in Philippine history and is remembered as a key leader in the fight for Philippine independence. The President of the Supreme Council. The Supreme Council was the highest governing body of the kataas-taasang, kagalang-galangan na katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, or simply the KKK. During the Philippine Revolution against Spain in 1896, the council was composed of elected officials who oversaw the affairs of the revolutionary society. Andres Bonifacio was the founder and the first president of the Supreme Council of the Katipunan. He held the position from the establishment of the Katipunan in 1892 until his death in 1897. Bonifacio's leadership of the Katipunan was characterized by his dedication to the cause of the Philippine independence and his populist ideology that sought to empower the masses in the struggle against colonial oppression. Bonifacio's leadership of the Supreme Council was marked by his efforts to expand the Katipunan's reach beyond Manila and into other parts of the Philippines. He also played a key role in the initiation of the Philippine Revolution in 1896. After Bonifacio's death, Emilio Aguinaldo assumed leadership of the revolutionary forces and established a new government. The Supreme Council of the Katipunan was disbanded and the organization was absorbed into the revolutionary government. A jump to the Supreme President. The title of Supreme President is most commonly associated with Emilio Aguinaldo, who served as the leader of the revolutionary forces during the Philippine Revolution against Spain and later became the first president of the Philippines. Aguinaldo was elected as the president of the revolutionary government in 1897 after the execution of Andres Bonifacio, who was the founder and first president of the Katipunan. The secret society was initiated the revolution. Aguinaldo's leadership and military successes were instrumental in the eventual victory of the revolutionaries against Spanish colonial rule. In 1898, after the declaration of Philippine independence, Aguinaldo was proclaimed as the first president of the newly established Republic of the Philippines. He served as president from 1898 to 1801 and again from 1917 to 1935, making him the longest-serving president in Philippine history. During his presidency, Aguinaldo oversaw the establishment of a new government, the drafting of a constitution, and the development of various institutions and policies aimed at promoting the welfare and prosperity of the Philippine people. Despite his significant contributions to Philippine history, however, Aguinaldo's legacy remains controversial, particularly due to his role in the Philippine-American War and his controversial actions during the Revolution. President of the Sovereign Nation of Catagalogan. The term sovereign nation of Catagalogan was a concept proposed by some Filipino intellectuals and historians to describe a hypothetical nation-state that would have been established in the Philippines had the Katipunan succeeded in its revolution against Spanish colonial rule. There was no president of the sovereign nation of Catagalogan because the concept was never realized as an actual state. However, the term has been used to refer to the revolutionary government established by the Katipunan during the Philippine Revolution against Spain, which was led by Emilio Aguinaldo as president of the revolutionary government. After the revolution, the Philippines came under American colonial rule, and the idea of sovereign nation of Catagalogan was relegated to the realm of historical speculation. However, the concept continues to be studied and discussed by scholars and activists interested in Philippine history and nationalism.
The democratic presidency of Andres Bonifacio.
From the beginning, Bonifacio was one of the chief Katipunan officers. Although he did not become its Presidente Supremo or Supreme President until 1895, he was the third head of the Katipunan after Diosdado Arellano and Roman Basa. The pre-war scholar Jose P. Banto referred to Bonifacio as the kataas-taasang Pangulo and General Number 1. Two other scholars, Jose P. Santos and Zaidi, recognized Bonifacio's presidency. However, they misread the phrase ang hari ng bayan as ang hari ng bayan, which led to a misunderstanding of Bonifacio's role in the government. Andres Bonifacio in 1863-1897 was the founder of the Katipunan, a militant nationalist secret society that led the rebellion against Spain. Bonifacio declared Philippine independence in 1896 in the wake of the execution of his hero and mentor Jose Rizal. Bonifacio adopted the Western concept of republic to the Filipino concept of sovereign people. The government headed by Bonifacio before 22 March 1897 was democratic and national in scope. This goes against the contention of some post-war historians that Bonifacio attempted to establish a separate government only after the Tejeros Assembly and was guilty of treason. The draft constitution, later known as the Malolos Constitution, was finally ratified and promulgated in January of 1899 with Emilio Aguinaldo as the president of the First Philippine Republic. An article on the Philippine Revolution appeared in the 8th February 1997 issue of La Ilustración Español y Americana. The article referred to Bonifacio as Presidente de República Tagala and described him as the head of the native government. The key officers in the Bonifacio's government were also listed. Aguinaldo landed at Cavite on May 19, rallied his supporters, and promptly proceeded to capture several towns south of Manila. He declared the independence of the Philippines on June 12 and was proclaimed President of the Philippine Republic. The Spanish historian Jose M. del Castillo reiterated the results of what was the first Philippine national elections. The same names listed in La Ilustración were mentioned by del Castillo in his work. Pio Valenzuela confirmed the August 1896 transformation of the Katipunan into a revolutionary government and Bonifacio's election to the presidency. Bonifacio's presidency was democratic and national in scope. Scholars recognized Bonifacio's presidency, but some misread the phrase "ang Haring Bayan." Recognition of Bonifacio's presidency can be found in various sources, including the article in La Ilustración del Castillo's work and Valenzuela's testimony, Katipunan Democracy. Bonifacio established mechanisms for popular participations from national to local levels. The Katipunan government was run by consensus through the Supreme Council, kataas-taasang kapulungan. The national government was recognized by Baldomero Aguinaldo as the Honorable Revolutionary Council. In each province, kataas-taasang sanggunian coordinated Sangguniang Bayan for public administration and military affairs on the supra-municipal or quasi-provincial level. There were several Sangguniang Bayan in different provinces like Batangas, Bulacan, Laguna, Nueva Ecija, Tayabas, and in Manila, Tondo, Caloocan, Mandaluyong, San Juan del Monte, Marikina, Pasig, Patrios, and San Mateo. At least 3 Sangguniang Bayan were in Cavite, Magdiwang in Noveleta, Magdalo in Kawit, and Magtiis in San Francisco de Malabon.